What's good, all you lovely people? This is the video version of a workshop I run that teaches founders how to make compelling pitches in videos that they can use to get customers, to get partners, and to get investors. So let's dive in. What I'm going to do is talk for a little bit, unpack how this works and what you need to think about, and then there'll be a time for doing. So you can actually just pause the video and work on the activity I've given you. Then we'll switch over from that part, which will be on content, into production. And I'll give you a way of setting up your production that's going to be better than 90% of people who are doing pitches over video. And then you'll be equipped and ready to do this. What you'll leave, of course, is a good understanding of how to give a video pitch. You'll have the pitch completed, and you'll have the skills and some templates to keep making more pitches that are really effective. Now, who are these pitches aimed at? Again, 3 different audiences. The first one is if you're trying to get some customers. There's also if you're trying to get partners or collaborators. And in many cases, building an audience is powerful, and partnerships and collaborations are a great way to do that. And then finally, investors. And so with this next slide here, you can see some of the details. You can see exactly who we're talking about. Customers, who's actually going to buy your stuff, or who you might direct to be managing a relationship with the people who buy your stuff, the types of people you could partner with, and investors who will fund your venture. It's worth mentioning that very few people are doing video pitches right now. So if you do it, you automatically stand out. One of the reasons that's the case is because people think that video is an expensive medium. And what I mean by that is it takes time and energy and care to do a great video. Roy Sutherland, an ex-Ogilvy exec, said that we tend to think that a message that was expensive to make and to produce, it must be more valuable. And because the perception of video is that it's hard to do, when you send someone a specific video that's aimed at them, it starts with, "Hey, John," or whatever their name is. It cuts through the noise, and they see that message in a way that they wouldn't with regular text. That's one of the reasons video is so powerful. While the thing is that we think video is expensive to set up. It's a heavy, burdensome process that takes a ton of planning. It really doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be so heavy and slow moving. Think of it more the way SpaceX does space travel than NASA did back in the day. The SpaceX approach to travel is using reusable components. It's using lighter weight rockets and doing lots of launches. This philosophy, making lots of videos, lighter weight production, just moving quickly, works much better than thinking about, okay, tons of time and energy, money and resources on getting set up to record videos. And that's the overarching philosophy we're going to take here as we make these videos. I also want to point out that once you get started making videos, your first ones you're not going to be happy with, and that's okay. Making bad videos gets you to good videos. And who knew today we'd talk about the similarities between barbecue and video, but they're there. Barbecue legend Aaron Franklin, who's the king of Austin barbecue, says that you make good barbecue by making bad barbecue. And so if your early videos aren't good, keep making them. They'll get better. It's also worth noting that you are going to be your most harshest critic. You are going to see your hair out of place. You're going to see a stain on your shirt, something like that. Most people don't notice these things. This is because of something called the spotlight effect, which is a research-backed phenomenon that means that we criticize ourselves more harshly, and seeing yourself in the mirror isn't always the greatest thing for your mental health. So don't worry about that. Just know that you're probably judging yourself more harshly than viewers. So with that being said, let's get into the basics. I'm going to start high level with just some general principles to think about. Be concise, be compelling, be credible, and be clear. Do these 4 things, you'll be in a good spot. By concise, we mean making the video short. Sending cold outreach videos to people. They don't know you yet. They don't know that you're worth watching. So you need to respect their attention and keep it really, really short. 1 to 2 minutes, no longer. You also don't want to give an overly long intro into who you are and your backstory. They don't need a history of who you are and how you got here. They need to know why you, but we'll get into that later. You also want to think about making this video compelling. And one of the ways to make it compelling is to make it specifically for this person. It's bespoke, it's custom, it's personalized for the person receiving it. In the same way, the bespoke suit that is personally tailored to fit you perfectly, well, that's what we want to do with these video messages. We want to make these pitches adapted, adjusted, customized for the person receiving them. And we want to have done our homework to know about the person who's getting them. Let me tell you about one of the greatest pitches I ever saw. It was at some pitch event where a bunch of people got on stage that were very well dressed. Everything was perfect. They gave their pitches. And then this dude shows up like a slob, and he's holding a file box full of notes. And he says to the audience, "In this box, I have notes from over 500 customer interviews. I understand their pains perfectly, and the product I'm building addresses that pain. If you want to talk, I'd love to chat. This pitch completely won over the room. And I did so because, yeah, he'd done the work of understanding what his customers needed, but he had this great prop. And we want to do the same thing when we make our videos. We want to use visual hooks that capture people's attention. Props are one way to do that. One thing that a lot of people do is they'll use a whiteboard with the person's name on it, just to show that, hey, this video is made specifically for you. And what they'll do, of course, is make the GIF image, the thumbnail of the video, show that name so that people know that they'll click on it and know that it's basically for them. This is another picture over here on the right of me and Pinky. Pinky is my lovely cat. She's kind of a diva, but she jumped in my lap one day when I was recording these videos, and I just kept going. I was amazed at the response it got. So if you have a pet, just, yes, use them for your supporting your entrepreneurial ventures. It will work and your response rate will be high. Some other examples are using a screen sharing tool like Loom. This is a gentleman who's pitching an app that organizes your life, and he's showing how busy his calendar is. That's something relatable. It gives a visual prop to ensnare the viewer. Same thing with this person on the right here. She's covered herself in Post-it notes for the sake of, again, giving a visual that hooks people in. Why is she covering herself in Post-it notes? Makes us want to click on that and therefore hear the pitch. The other thing you want to do is to be credible. Credible means referencing the customers you have served, case studies, things like that. If you're selling to a big organization or even a big creator, a lot of times they're going to want to know, who have you worked with before so that I know you're legit. So you want to mention that up front. Having reference customers is quite powerful. Also, you want to be clear. You want to end on something very clear, call to action. Here's what we do next. Maybe it's a meeting. Maybe you're asking them to share a resource you made. The point is, you don't want to just have them know about you now. That's like brand advertising. And that works great for Coke because Coke is available to buy everywhere. So Coke buys an ad with polar bears during Christmas and we get reminded ourselves of Coke. But we are not a brand like that. We are solopreneurs or a small startup team. We don't need them to know we exist. What we need them to know is what we do and take a next step. So be very clear, have a call to action that makes sense. So now let's get into, what do you actually include in the pitch? Of these three audiences, of all this subset of people in here, whether it's clients and users, newsletter writers, accelerators, there's two things that need to be in every single pitch to them. The first one is what's in it for them, WIFT for short. What's in it for them? We need to emphasize the value this can create for them. So if they're a company, we need to talk about the benefits that our product or service is going to create for them. If they're a big creator we're trying to reach out to get on their podcast, we need to talk about why what we're doing might be of value to them or their audience, because theoretically, if you're going to do something that's going to benefit their audience, they will want to engage with you. And the next is the why you. Why are you the unique person to do this? And this part is especially relevant when it comes to the investor side of things, because investors, they probably know that you don't know every single answer to the problems that are facing you as an entrepreneur, the problems you're dealing with in the venture. But what they're making a bet on is that you will be able to solve those problems. And that's what they want to know. When you explain why you, why are you the person to do this? So here's an example of a script for reaching out to a customer. Now I'm going to read this, but even I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is I want you to paraphrase a little bit. You can't copy this word for word. It won't work. You're going to need to adjust it a little bit in terms of the content and in terms of your sensibility. So this script goes as follows. Let's assume that I am behind an invoice automation company called Invoice Automator. So I'd say, hey, John, this is Cam from Invoice Automator. Is invoicing at ABC Co. a pain? Following up with customers and dealing with messy integrations can make it difficult for you to get paid. And I don't need to be a genius to know that not being able to get paid is a problem. So our software, it simplifies it and makes it smooth and easy. Here's why you should work with us. Our customers love us. We work with XYZ Inc. and we sped up their AR process by 50%, which means they can spend more time working on the stuff that's much more important to them than hassling their customers. So if anything I'm saying here connects, if it resonates, I dropped my Calendly link in this email. Book a time and let's talk further. I look forward to chatting. So super short, but we hit the WIFT, the what's in it for them, and we hit the why you. Let's now go into an example of the same type of outreach to a partner or a collaborator. So in this context, I'm playing the role of someone who runs a copywriting group, a small company that does copywriting. And we're reaching out to someone who's got a massive following with engineers. And we're going to try to sell them on the idea that engineers should learn copywriting. Hey, Alex, Cam here from the Copyright Collective. Congrats on your recent success. I noticed that you crossed the 30,000 follower mark. That's a great accomplishment. I know that the group you serve, your audience is largely engineers. And I wanted to share something that I think would be helpful for them. Copywriting. Copywriting skills are persuasion skills. And an engineer who's equipped with the ability to persuade, well, that's going to be a really effective engineer. I've been a copywriter for 4 years now, and I've helped all types of people learn copywriting. I recently put together the ultimate beginner's guide to copywriting, and I think your audience would value from it. I've shared a link to it in this email, but I'd be deeply appreciative if you would share this with your audience. Super short, it's to the point, but it hits the WIFT and the YU. Finally, let's go over an example of some outreach to an investor. Let's see, Danielle runs the XYZ fund, and I'm coming from the position of being a founder from a company called Loan Learner. Hey, Danielle, my name is Cam. Given the XYZ fund's focus on consumer fintech, I wanted to put a company in front of you, the company I run. We're called Loan Learner, and we help underbanked communities complete loan applications in half the time. We use an interface tuned to that community's needs so they don't get lost in the jargon behind filing for a loan. We just secured a big partnership with Chase, which means we're going to have 50,000 new users. And so we're in general ramp up mode to deal with this demand. We need to raise another round of funding to meet this and continue to grow with the rate we're accustomed to. Wanted to see if you'd be up for having a conversation. So there we go. We've talked about, we did the research, we've tuned it to her needs because we know what sector she's tuned to, and we've explained why we are worth talking to because we secured that partnership. So I will leave this screen up for a bit. What I want you to do right now is go ahead and pause the video. You can keep this screen up. Feel free to full screen it if you want to be able to see it more clearly. But these examples are here. I want you to take under 5 minutes, and it's important that you not go longer than 5 minutes because we can spend forever doing this stuff. It's more valuable here to have a quickly completed version than a version that you think is perfect, but it takes forever. So go ahead and pause the video and take a stab at making a 1 to 2 minute pitch. Again, you're just writing here, no filming. Okay, so now you've written something and it may not be perfect, but now let's go into the next step, which is a crash course in production. What I'm going to introduce is something called the ALF method, and it's a super simple, basic method for getting decent production that'll be better than most people you know. ALF was a television show in the 80s. It was terrible about an alien who ate cats. Every time I do this, someone complains and says that they love ALF. I'm sorry, it's just not a good show. You're wrong. I mean, I love you, but you're wrong. ALF stands for audio, lighting, and framing. And even if the show's terrible, it gives us a great acronym. Now, we start with audio because audio is the most important. People are willing to watch a video where the visuals aren't great, but they can hear everything and it's legible. What they're not up for is watching a beautiful video that the audio is garbled. That's not going to work. So focus on audio before you do everything else. One of the easiest ways to do this is to reduce sources of noise. Turn off your air conditioning, shut the door, close the window if there's something noisy going inside. You want it to be minimal audio so that people can hear your message and hear what you're saying. The next part of ALF is lighting. We want to get into how do you light yourself to make yourself look good. First off, light the face. The face needs to be lit before anything else. If you've got some amazing painting behind you, don't worry about if that's well lit. Your face is what matters here. Also, avoid backlighting. That's when there's a big source of light behind you. That is going to make it look like you're in a witness protection program and you're getting interviewed on TV, which that's not the look we need to make our venture move forward. Also, a good tip is to face a window. If you're facing a window, it means the light will be coming head on to you, which means it'll be general and even. That's what we're looking for rather than laser beams piercing us. We want general diffuse light whenever possible. If you're facing a window, you got a better chance of that happening. If you have overhead lights, turn them off. Overhead lights are going to give you raccoon eyes, which is, again, not a great look. So turn off overheads. Next, we'll get into framing, which is the final piece of this. Now, you may be filming on your computer, you may be using a phone, but if you're using a phone, it's good to stabilize it. It's not the worst thing if you just hold it up, but it's better if you stabilize it. And if you don't have a tripod, that's totally fine. You can set it up and make it stable any way you'd like. Also, you want to minimize headroom. Headroom is the distance between the top of your head and the top of the frame. This distance needs to be pretty small. It's not a good look if there's a big ocean of space there. Next up, we want the camera at eye level. The camera at eye level makes it easier to connect and makes you seem more relatable. If you are well above the lens, it looks like you're looking down on an audience, and that's not a context in which we want to pitch anyone. Another way to deepen that connection is to look at the camera. When you look at the camera, when you make eye contact, it feels more human. It feels more real. It's a deeper connection. And again, this is what we want to take advantage of in video, because text doesn't do this, but video does. So that is the ALF framework for just, if you handle these things, it's going to work great for you making a good video. Now we go to part 2. Part 2 is, now you still have this rough template that I've simplified a little bit with the WIFT and the YU. I also put some notes of the ALF method right there. What I want you to do now is go ahead and pause the YouTube video, get up, take that script you wrote, and take a stab at filming it. See how that goes. You might take a couple tries, it might work, it might not, but keep going. Keep going. Don't spend more than 5 or 10 minutes, but I want you to get a take that's halfway decent. And when you do that, you'll have a completed video. So you can go ahead and pause the video now. Otherwise, I'm going to take us out. Where I'm going to take you is how to find more of this stuff. I'll drop links in the description, but here's how you find me. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of stuff. And I run a course called Minimum Viable Video, where this is kind of scratching the iceberg of learning video. There's a lot more to lighting, to production, to framing. There's a lot more to the different types of storytelling and ways to use platforms, including LinkedIn. I love YouTube, but I think if you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times being on LinkedIn is a better place to be. So if you like this kind of stuff and you want more, well, you know how to find me. Hope this is helpful. Stay well. Good luck. Bye-bye.